president of the was popularly elected as the fourth for a 4-year term between January 7, 2013 and January 2017. Mr. Mahama made history by being the first president of Ghana to serve all political offices. Member of Parliament for Bole Bamboi constituency, Deputy Minister of Communication, Vice President, and eventually the President of the Republic. Beyond investment in socio-economic infrastructure, Mr. Mahama also believes in investing in people and the desire to ensure social justice and equity. This is reflected in his promotion of girls and women interests at all levels. He ensures the appointment of many women in high positions, and in his administration, and in his last presidential bid, selected an accomplished woman as the vice president candidate. The first of the major political parties in Ghana. Mr. Mahama is an avid reader, an author, and a historian. Over the course of his career, he has written several national and international for newspapers. He has authored several publications as well. He has also published his first book, a memoir entitled My First Coup d'etat, and other true stories from the lost decades of Africa. Apart from his love for reading and acquiring knowledge, President Mahama also is keen on with interest in technology, and being a farmer himself in agriculture. Mr. Mahama, his intimate knowledge and love for agriculture started from a young age, when his father owned a prominent rice farm. He was also a teacher and a minister in the government of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He is particularly interested in finding most effective ways to improve agriculture productivity, work and encourage more young people to see farming as a visible business or a viable business rather than just a means of sustenance. Mr. Mahama, aside serving as the President of Ghana, is the former chair of the Economic Committee of West African States, ECOWAS Commission, and the first co-chair of the United Nations Advocacy Group of Sustainable Development Goals. He is currently the chairman of TANA Forum, a high-level forum on security in Africa, which is headquartered in Ethiopia. In recognition for his sterling contribution on Africa, the continent and the globe as a leader and a model, Mr. Mahama has been conferred with numerous honorary doctoral degrees. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he got one of my notes there. Thank you. Great. So he's been conferred numerous honorary doctoral degrees from the distinguished universities, including Ekiti State University, Ilorin University, University of Nigeria, the University of Aberdeen in Scotland, and the Lyon Business School in France. He has been overwhelmingly elected to lead his party, the National Democratic Congress, into the 2024 elections. Most importantly, Mr. Mahama has been married for over 30 years to Mrs. Lodina Mahama. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinguished honor to introduce to you the former President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency, John Dramani Mahama. So, with us filling our seats here, we would like to just get things started. To our panelists, your audience, your panelists, to begin with the keynote speeches, I would like to invite to the podium Mrs. Chelsea Petrovic, Member of Parliament for the Livingston MacLeod.
I can barely see you all over this podium. Thank you. Honored guests, distinguished members of the delegation, fellow Albertans, dear friends, the Honourable Raj Sonhi, who I believe, with all of her education and past history within our government of Alberta, I feel like I stole her seat up at the front a little bit. So, and High Commissioner as well. As the former president, thank you so much for attending here today. So it's with great pleasure and pride that I have the honor to stand before you to speak about the captive region of southern Alberta. The land adorned with majestic mountains, sprawling prairies, and rich cultural heritage is a true gem of our beloved nation. But today we're not only here for Alberta. Today we get to celebrate a significant occasion as we welcome the former president, John Dramani Mahama, I apologize, and his esteemed delegation from the Republic of Ghana to our beautiful province of Alberta. It's not just the vast difference between Ghana and Canada that has been bridged today, but also the space between our cultures and our aspirations. Mr. Mahama, under your leadership, Ghana saw a period of transformative growth, democratic consolidation, and an unwavering commitment to social justice. Your legacy in championing infrastructure development and the promotion of education is world-renowned. Here in Alberta, we recognize and value the strength of collaboration and mutual respect. Our province, rich in energy and agricultural resources, has always believed in the power of responsible and sustainable growth. Southern Alberta embodies a spirit of community and perseverance that runs deep within our roots. The people of this region exemplify resilience, embodying a rich history of triumph and adversity. And today, we see a friend and partner in Ghana, a nation that under the guidance of leaders like President Mahama have risen to prominence on the global stage, establishing itself as a beacon of democratic values and economic vitality in West Africa. We have so much to learn from each other. While Ghana's traditions, history, and culture offer a wellspring of knowledge, Alberta, too, with its indigenous heritage and modern innovations, stands ready to share stories. Stories that have been woven into the fabric of our land, the tales of pioneers, ranchers, and indigenous communities whose enduring legacies continue to shape the culture, landscape of this remarkable place. I envision a future, though, where our partnership stretches beyond mere economic investments, a partnership based on shared values, mutual respect, and a deep-seated commitment to the betterment of our people. Whether it's collaborating on sustainable energy projects, exploring trade opportunities, cultural exchange, the potential is limitless. To the Ghana delegation, I urge you to savor the natural beauty Alberta has to offer. From the rugged peaks of the majestic mountains to the sweeping plains that stretch as far as the eye can see. Southern Alberta boasts a landscape that encapsulates both grandeur and tranquility. Its untamed wilderness, adorned with glacial lakes, cascading waterfalls, and rich grasslands, remains a testament to the raw beauty of its nature. So I'm inviting you all to immerse yourself in all of our wonders. In conclusion, on behalf of all of Albertans, I extend our warmest greetings to President Mahama and his delegation. Let this visit mark the beginning of a long, fruitful, and resilient bond between Ghana and Alberta. Thank you once again, and welcome to Alberta.
Thank you very much, Chelsea. Well, as I went back, I would have said backstage if there was a backstage, but I've been told that my job is on the line because there's one person that we've not put on the stage yet, and it is proper that we do that. So I would like to invite onto the stage, Ruby, can you help me with the chair? Honorable Rajan Sonhi. Sonhi? Is that? Rajan Sonhi. Sonhi. Oh my goodness. So please, with a round of applause, let's welcome her to the stage. And in a few minutes, we'll be hearing from her as well. Thank you very much, Dr. Ball. Okay, so our keynote will be receiving from Honorable Seth Tepe. Please invite him to the podium.
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe it's my former boss who is doing the keynote, and so I will be just making a few, comments. Ghana in recent times is the way I like to, look at it. And we came to office, and I recall in February of 2013, a month into our administration, receiving the World Bank country representative, and its message was simple. Ghana had become a middle-income country, a lower middle-income country, no longer a developing country. Then came the African Development Bank rep to deliver it. So it's a formal process. Up to that point, I didn't realize that it was a formal process. The implication is that you lose concessional financing, you lose grants, and therefore you have to, do some transformation in order that you can, play along with the emerging and BRIC economies, at the lower level. So that was one thing that marked our administration. That spring, I was in Washington, and then met the World Bank Vice President, and then I asked, so what does it mean to be middle income? What's the blueprint? And there wasn't any, no blueprint for becoming middle income. For those in Ghana, this was the basis for we launching, excuse me, the basis for what we have come to know as the homegrown, policy. If there is no blueprint from the development institutions, multilaterals, then we had to formulate one. Why did we become middle income? There was much resource flow from the declaration of HIPIC. Secondly, there was, also a rebasing of our GDP, which instantly made services the largest instead of agric. And then the third most important, we discovered oil, and we just, it's not as much as we have here, but it tells you with a small economy what 70,000 barrels to 100,000 barrels per day can do, can suddenly change your fortunes. This is background. So we set about, and you may know today that Ghana, has defaulted, despite the measures that were put in place, and we have to work very hard to get out of that conundrum because it's not a pretty one. When you get to know about Argentina, Sri Lanka, some are stronger economies, than we have. But we sought to tackle, to stabilize the economy for private sector, and employment to generate. The things that ached the economy, were mainly, and that is why we defaulted, bullet bonds. You keep borrowing, and you pay only interest only loans, without a mechanism, for repayment. This is what aches many developing countries. So we set about setting a sinking fund, from the oil revenue, in order that we can use it. And in fact, we started a deceleration of the rate of borrowing. The second instrument was, we are a commodity exporting country, cocoa, gold, and then petroleum in addition. All of these are susceptible to, oscillations in global prices. And so we set up a stabilization fund, a budget buffer, in order that we could be able, to weather the storm. In fact, before we left office, we had used $550 million to reduce our debt within 2 years, and we had also set up a sinking fund, of which about $400 million has been used so far, for COVID and other, crises. Now is the sustainability of policies, which is the bane of what we go through in Africa. We believe that, by the way, it's not a partisan issue, because there was a vigorous debate in Parliament as to what to do, with our oil. But for the private sector, also, particularly for those who are here, during question time we can discuss some of this further. But for the private sector, we realized that we needed to improve the framework for attracting investments. So not only did we work with investment, but our approach was to do, instead of individual agreements, to do double taxation treaties within context of the OECD, or which then is clearer because it's global, and so a businessman coming to the country knows exactly how to avoid double taxation and all that. We set about setting up institutions that would enable the private sector, particularly an Exim Bank, for trade finance, which is something which we needed by the trade guarantee finance and promotion. And then we set up an infrastructure fund, which was to be the sovereign wealth fund for self-financing projects and major ones. Within this, it stabilized and made sure that, businesses will be welcome. And one of the institutions which I recall addressing, back home, was the Ghana-Canadian Chamber of Commerce, which helped us give us support in the establishment, of, the Exim Bank and others. Ghana is a welcoming home. Most of our laws are easy to understand because they are English in nature. Anglophone, we are not an Anglophone country. And so I will take my seat and welcome, any questions that will come, in the areas of whether it is what is going on now in terms of government policy or the initiatives, which we have. But our goal would be to make Ghana a true middle-income country, following those of the Eastern European countries and others, particularly who joined the EU and the rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable. That was insightful overview of the state of Ghana, and I believe that this will just increase the interest of plausible investors to start considering investing in Ghana. But as he gave the speech, there was one question I asked myself: how could all of these be done without the right education? And also, to give us an insight of education here in Alberta, I would like to invite to the podium the Minister of Advanced Education, Alberta, in the person of Honorable Rajan Sonhi.
Thank you for that introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. I am so pleased to be here today. I would like to take this opportunity to, first of all, to welcome His Excellency, the former President, John Mahama. Thank you so much for being here today. I would also like to welcome my colleague, MLA Chelsea Petrovic, who's traveled about, what was it, 45 minutes you said to get here today? I'm sure she wasn't speeding. I'd also like to welcome High Commissioner Mr. Sao and also the former Finance Minister, Mr. Seth, and thank you so much for your very insightful remarks. I'd also like to congratulate the organizers of this event. Very, very well done, particularly Paramount Agro Group and everybody else who had a hand to play in making today possible. My name is Rajan Sonhi. I am Alberta's Minister of Advanced Education. I will just tell you a little bit about myself before I talk about my portfolio and also talk about the Alberta-Ghana connection. I was first elected in 2019, and I was very fortunate to have held, during that mandate of 4 years, 3 significant portfolios. So I was the Minister of Community and Social Services, and then I was the Minister of Transportation for some time, and then my favorite portfolio was a trade, immigration, and multiculturalism portfolio, because that is where I really got to delve into the trade aspect and learned of how important it is to create these connections. And that's why events like this are very important, because there are people here from international communities and obviously from Ghana, and we need to know how we can work together. And we need to know what the jurisdictions are like that we want to engage in. So I have a lot of information that I can provide on that regard. I was elected again this past May and sworn in as the Minister of Advanced Education. So what does advanced education mean? It means that I oversee all of the colleges and the universities and the trades and the apprenticeships in the province. And there is so much work being done right now on the internationalization concept. But before even getting into that, I do know that we have many, many international students who are studying here in Canada, in Alberta, actually, who are from Ghana. And I'm sure Dr. Charles interacts with them very often. And by the way, Dr. Charles and I have a long history dating back to 2020. We've done some tremendous work together. So I feel like I'm a sister of the Ghana community here in Alberta. Thank you. Now, when we're talking about advanced education and wanting to internationalize, what that means is we are making some concerted efforts to make sure that we talk to people in international communities and talk about how great our educational institutions are here. In fact, here in Alberta, we have the most educated workforce in this province as compared to any other jurisdiction in Canada. And that's why it is such an ideal place to invest. But, you know, even aside from advanced education, I was looking at this slide deck as we were being introduced, and there are a couple of things that I saw in there that I do want to comment on. First of all, let's talk about food security. The Russian invasion of Ukraine actually put food security and energy security on top of minds for people all over the world. Alberta is well known for its agricultural practices, for its technology, for its innovation, and we can be the supplier of food for the international community. That's why it's so wonderful that the delegation from Ghana is here, because we would like to talk to you about the tremendous opportunities that we have here in Alberta and how you can invest, or furthermore, how we can export some of our technologies and ways of doing things in agriculture that would be beneficial to your country and to others. We know there's a food security issue. We know that there are going to be many nations who are going to face starvation this year and in the coming years, and Alberta is primed and poised to help. Now let's talk about energy security. That is also on top of mind of so many leaders across the world. I was at the World Petroleum Congress not too long ago that was hosted here in Calgary, and there was a delegation from Ghana who was there as well. I had the opportunity to speak to them, and I did see the slide with solar panels, and I can tell you that, again, Alberta is a leader in renewables and in transition in energy, in addition to conventional energy, so there's so much that we could talk about. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just will leave you with this one thought. You know, Alberta, as I've mentioned before, is an ideal place for investment. We have low taxes, low corporate taxes. We don't have a sales tax here. I've already mentioned that we have the highest or the most educated workforce as compared to any other jurisdiction in Canada, but we also have a very low cost of living here as well. So So if anybody's looking to invest here, in fact, I would encourage you to move here. Please keep in mind these attributes that I just discussed, and please don't hesitate to get in touch with the Government of Alberta if you have any other questions. Thank you so much again for attending. Such a pleasure to be here, and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was insightful to give us what Alberta also has to offer, bring to the table. And one of the things I remember you mentioned was moving in, and I believe that means bringing the money in as well, to make sure that the economy is sustainable for all of us. So we'll just like to also hear, because Agric was so much mentioned, so we'd like to hear from the CEO of the Paramount Agro Group in the person of Dr. Deshaun Ball.
Hi, welcome. I am Dr. Darshan Bal, CEO Paramount Agro Group and Paramount Agro Industries. I would like to extend my heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guest, the former President of the Republic of Ghana and NSC flag bearer for Ghana's 2024 national elections, His Excellency John Germani Mahama, the provincial MLA for Livingston McLeod, Chelsea Petrovic, and the provincial MLA for Calgary Northwest, the Minister of Advanced Education, Honorable Rajan Saniji, the program manager and coordinator of UN program, Dr. Ismail Diuludu. He is not here today. Paramount Agro Group and its associated companies have been in business since 2015 and is among the top tier companies in agribusiness. Our extensive network with the farmers in Western Canada and India allow us to offer a wide spectrum of products around the world. Paramount Agro's core business is processing and packaging of crop such as chickpeas, red lentils and kidney beans, which are the key ingredients for both consumers and eateries in this market. Our group has also offered products such as basmati rice, which we bring from India, the top quality, and durum flour under our brand Sun Gold, which is well acceptable and recognized all over North America. Paramount Agro Group is also using a global footprint to develop more cost-effective ways for the farmers to clean, process and package their products by offering dedicated seed and packaging equipments. Our network is also enabling Paramount to offer all levels of farm equipment such as tractors, seeders, cultivators and harvesters, so that countries can grow with their sustainable food production at a very low cost. Paramount's successful journey shows that how we have adapted to the market dynamics and the needs of our global customers, though our deep understanding to the phantom of interests of food value of the chains. Our interaction with our farmers, the supply chain and the end customer defines our accountability. Trust to the name, Paramount Agro Industries is a leading company in agribusiness. Our extensive network feeds and fuels a growing world, creating opportunities for our dedicated farmers. Our packaging facilities around the world bring best quality of food to the table. We have adapted to the market sensitivities and requirements by organizing around the customer and value-added chains. With our interaction with the farmer and all the way end consumers defines our accountability. So again, I will welcome Mr. President to Alberta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ball. So we're getting to that point, ladies and gentlemen. So we've received the keynote speeches from them. One thing strikes me is the need and the vulnerability that both speakers have shown about how we want to get into the investment and make our lives better. Keynote, I am pleased to invite to the podium His Excellency the former President of His Excellency, Mr. John Mahama. Give him a round of applause.
this time I got the opportunity to visit Nova Scotia and came back to Toronto, and here I am this morning, snowy morning in Alberta. I tried to pack some sunlight from Ghana, but Air Canada didn't deliver, so you just have to bear with the weather till I leave. Thank you very much. I'll just give a brief overview, and I guess that in the interaction section, I'll be able to expatiate more on many of the opportunities that our beautiful country, Ghana, has to offer. Our economy has been facing several challenges in recent years, which is impacting on its growth and stability. I'm sure that the Honorable Finance Minister would have given you further details if he had had the opportunity to go into detail. But we went into COVID and the other international global shocks without the kind of resilience that we needed to go into, and so our economy took quite a beating, and so we've had to undertake a debt restructuring because we had over a period of time borrowed too much, and so our debt to GDP was not sustainable, and so we've currently gone into an IMF program to try to stabilize the economy and balance the macroeconomy. And so at the present moment we finished a domestic debt restructuring, and we're currently doing an international debt restructuring. And once that happens, the intention is that by 2028 it should bring debt to GDP down to about 50%, and we hope that that would create better prospects for the economy. With the right strategies and investment opportunities, it is possible to get the economy back on track and foster long-term development. I'll provide you with an overview of the current state of the Ghanaian economy, share my suggestions for revitalizing the economy, and the potential for investment opportunities for businesses interested in Ghana. Currently, we're going through economic challenges: high fiscal deficit, debt burden, high inflation, and a heavy reliance on commodities. And this is threatening our economic stability. The impact of COVID-19, the pandemic, exposed the weak state of our economic foundation, arising from poor economic management even before COVID struck. The government's overspending, taking advantage of the pandemic, resulted in worsening the situation. This was further amplified by reduced revenue. As a middle-income country, revenue is expected to be between 18 and 22%, and I think Ghana was doing about 13 or 14%. And so, under the IMF program, the government has been compelled to put on some more taxes in order to increase revenue. We believe that to get the economy back on track, we must look at diversifying the economy and encourage the development of non-traditional sectors. We've relied mainly on some traditional sectors like cocoa. Ghana is the second largest producer of cocoa in the world, and Ghana is currently the largest exporter of gold in Africa. We therefore are vulnerable to shocks anytime there are collapses of global commodity prices. Two, we should enhance infrastructure, investing in critical infrastructure such as power generation, transportation, and telecommunications to backstop and support economic growth. We should improve the governance environment, address corruption, bureaucracy, and inefficiency to create an enabling environment for businesses and attract foreign investments. We must cut red tape and bureaucracy in order to advance in the ease of doing business. We need to look at human capital development, prioritize education, like the Honorable Minister was talking about, healthcare and skills training to build a productive workforce that can meet the demands of a rapidly changing economy. The thing about education is that, like Canada, we were colonized by Britain, and so we inherited the British system of grammar school education and not emphasizing much technical and vocational skills. And so what we're trying to do now is to try and rebalance our educational system by incorporating a high dose of skills and vocational education, so that for those who are not able to advance into tertiary education, they also have the route of going into skills training and technical education. To promote agriculture, enhancing agricultural productivity, value addition, and agribusiness to strengthen food security and export. The investment opportunities in Ghana. First, I'll talk about the energy sector. There's space for investment in power. We've seen a lot of investment in power. When we liberalized the power sector, we allowed independent power producers. And so several companies have invested in setting up generating plants to produce electricity both for Ghana, and there's a potential for exporting to our neighboring countries because we're interconnecting our grids with our neighboring countries. And so for the countries that are power starved, it is possible to evacuate power to supply their needs. We also have the potential in renewables, mainly solar. Wind is not very viable. We're not a very windy country because we're close to the equator. And so solar is the main thing. I guess if we could export sunlight, we would export some to Alberta. And so there's potential for a lot of solar power. Ghana also has, it's an oil producing country, and we produce both crude oil and also LNG. Total LNG is about 204 billion standard cubic feet of gas. And the main oil fields are the Jubilee field, which was the first field to be discovered. And then we found the 10th field, which was second to come on stream. And then we have the offshore Cape 3 Points, which is the ENI Sankofa field, which is also producing a lot of gas. The other potential investments, the next important field was a field that was owned by Hess, and it sold out to Accra, and Accra has been taken over by the African Finance Corporation, and that is a field waiting to come on stream. And so I think they are looking at investment options to bring that field also on stream. If they do, it will bring more oil and gas into the system. It's important to look at manufacturing, investment in textiles and garments to take advantage of affordable cost of labor. And there are several companies that have set up already. Africa is crawling with Vietnamese, Chinese, Indian, Middle Eastern investors, and because they are not risk averse. I tell this story about my North American colleagues and friends who come with a long list when they want to invest, and they start to take from number one. Is it a democracy? Yes. Is there freedom of speech? Is there abuse of human rights? You know, what's the judiciary like? By the time you get to number 5, the Chinese and the Indians have set up a factory and are producing, or set up a mine and making money. But Ghana is a democracy. Ghana has respect for human rights. We have a judiciary based on common law, like most Commonwealth countries. And so it makes it easier for investors, you know, in Commonwealth countries like Canada to be able to look at investments in Ghana. Producing in Ghana can give you access to a market of 30 million people. But potentially, with the passage of the African Continental Free Trade Area, that allows duty-free exports into each other's countries in Africa, and 54 African countries have signed up to it. So it means that potentially, if you set up a pharmaceutical company in Ghana or a textiles and garments company, you have the possibility to export your products to a market of almost 1.2 billion people, which is the whole of Africa. So that is an attractive area. We also have technology and innovation. And the service sector is the fastest growing sector in Ghana, contributing almost 48% of GDP growth. If we're taking agriculture is to be the biggest contributor to GDP. Services are taking it, and that includes e-commerce has taken off, and we have also the fastest, in Africa you have the fastest growing digital and broadband services. Africa, before COVID, had the fastest growing broadband connections in the whole world. And so that's an uptake that Africa is leapfrogging with in terms of digital services. We also have opportunities in the area of real estate. There's a housing deficit in Ghana, and so that's an area that several companies are taking advantage of and, supplying houses onto the real estate market. We had a growing and buzzing middle class that was the main off-taker of such real estate. Unfortunately, because of the economic crisis and the debt restructuring, the middle class has taken a bit of a hit, but we expect that they should bounce back, in the near term. So real estate is a place that people are involved in. Industrial parks, shopping malls have become very popular, and other recreational facilities. The opportunities in the education and health sector. Ghanaians value quality education, and so there are some entrepreneurs who've set up schools, quality schools, providing quality education, and Ghanaians are prepared to pay, to send their children to good schools. Healthcare, Ghana traditionally has attracted health tourism. That is, our neighbors come, from neighboring countries to seek healthcare, because Ghana has a huge army of professional specialists, medical, well-trained personnel. And so for services like heart surgery, you have people coming from Sierra Leone, Liberia, and other places, Burkina Faso, to do open heart surgery in our cardiothoracic center. Some come for radiotherapy for cancers and so on and so forth. And so there is also opportunity in the health sector to provide health services, not only to Ghana but to the sub-region. Agriculture and agro-processing, and that's where my friend works, and I'm going to talk to him and see if I can attract him into the Ghanaian sector. We have a huge potential. Sunshine, land, water, everything you need to engage in agriculture is available. And we have the potential for a lot of agro-processing because Ghana produces cocoa. So there's opportunity for processing, adding value to the cocoa before it's exported. There's opportunity for expanding coffee production and also adding value to the coffee for export. We're increasing production of soya, and so soya is an important crop both for internal consumption and also for export. There's potential for processing cashew. The Brong-Ahafo regions, the three Brong-Ahafo regions are the biggest producers of cashew, and so now they export the raw cashews, and they are processed mostly in India and exported into the North American market. And so there's a possibility to put in capacity to process the cashews and export them directly to North America. Cotton used to be a big crop in the Savannah region, but recently it's falling in terms of production. But there's a possibility to increase cotton production again for export and for internal consumption. There's also the possibility for what I call import substitution. Ghana imports almost $2 billion worth of food products every year. And some of these are basic commodities that can be produced locally. And so vegetable oils, of course we have people like Wilma and others who have invested in oil processing mills, and so they buy the oil seeds in Ghana and they process them both for the local market and for export. The local market is big enough to absorb a lot of it, but they export some to the neighboring West African countries. And so vegetable oil processing is one area that is important. Of course, producing enough of the oil seeds, and so they import additional oil seeds from places like Malaysia and others to supplement the local production. Poultry. One would have thought that, growing chickens is the easiest thing to do, but we import a lot of poultry. And so there's opportunity for producing poultry for the local market. And the local market is huge. Rice. We suddenly have turned into a nation of rice eaters. Of course, because of modernization, it's easy to put rice on fire and have a meal in a very short time. And so some of our local dishes are a bit more difficult to prepare. And so a lot of people in the urban centers are eating more rice. And so we're importing something like $900 million worth of rice a year. And so rice production, rice processing is an area of importance. Tomato. We eat tomato in everything, in stews, in soups, everything Ghanaians will put tomato in. And so there's a huge market for tomato production and processing. And there are a few companies like Gino who have set up some processing facilities, but they can't get enough raw material. And so they have to import, tomato from outside to process, both for the Ghanaian market and for export to neighboring countries. So these are areas where there's opportunity for fish production. Ghanaians are probably the biggest fish eaters, one of the biggest fish eaters in the whole world. I'm sure if you count the top 10, Ghanaians will feature in terms of eating fish. Unfortunately, we have a problem of overfishing offshore coast because some of these Asian trawlers are in our waters, and so our own trawlers and external fishermen are catching fewer and fewer fish. To culture. And so several people are in tilapia production, fish and all the other in Ghana. So water and agriculture is Ghana is safe, so it's a and also has the Ashanti Kingdom, and you see the beauty of an ancient kingdom tradition. You go to the north kingdom, you have the Gonja, the northern kingdoms, and so historical is good. The big national park of the country, even though we don't have land, things we have baboons, we have antelopes, we have birds, we have guys, different breeds of animals. And so that's also, we have forts and castles. Ghana has the most forts and castles in North Africa. And one of the first contacts between Europe and Africa. The Portuguese landed there in the 1400s, and they built a fort at a place called Elmina. And that fort became the center of trade on the west coast of Africa. They brought different goods from Europe and they exchanged them. Ghana was going to go to independence. Traded other commodities. And so after when the slave trade came, it became more. Those ports became the export of slaves, and so we get a lot of tourism to study them. In the castles you have what we call the door of no return. So they brought to the castle. That was called the door of no return. Recently we organized what we call the year of, and so for history who manufacturing. So that's the area of tourism. The challenges the Ghanaian economy faces several strategies can be implemented to turn the functions of Ghana around. Like I said, diversification in infrastructure, development, and agricultural production and process crucial in rejuvenating the economy. And like I said, investment opportunities can be found in energy, manufacturing, technology, real estate, and tourism, and all projects for the businesses to capitalize on Ghana's potential growth and long-term development. Ghana can establish a resilient and inclusive economy by implementing these strategies effectively and harnessing investment profits. Thank you.
His to process food security, the opportunities to invest in agriculture, talked about some natural. I think that Mr. President, if you may, I met a few gentlemen here who are doing other things. So maybe exporting sunlight. I think we can start looking into. Yes, there are so many